How's it going, everybody? Just did a video about Michael's comments, Christian's comments, and so forth. And also, Jamie and Justin would be very happy if you look at the thumbnail. It's UFC's fight. I could tell that one of their fights was faked immediately. It just resonated in my brain, heart, that it was fake by watching it. And when you really observe sports, you're just too smart for stuff. You just see stuff, you understand stuff. Acting on a stage, on film, and having to do retakes and cuts and retakes and cuts and reshooting to make the acting perfect. But when you're faking football, those are things you can start to really see because it becomes very physical and there's only a one time you can do it. So mistakes are made. But when two people are fighting, it gets way more difficult to fake. And when it's going to be faked, it's going to be obvious. And yes, people are going to bleed and people are going to take punches, but it's you can still tell when something's faked. In other words, they're not really fighting to win. And so I'm glad that I watched it, because it's just showing. We just finished UFC 269, so that 69 number I think was meant at a very specific time. It does not change to 270 or 27-0, and y'all know how that 27 number fits extremely prominent in my life, as the numbers of my second wife and myself have that 627, 127 all the way in. And even when we met in 2005 and 2006, and it was 626, 126 was the middle set of numbers rotation, there was still a 27 in there as a 91227 and a 91273. So the 127 was even in the 2006 year, which was when we started, really started the relationship. And then, but you see it's 126, 626, 126 in the middle of the 2005, 2006 year. But when you get into 2007, that's when it evolves to 627, 127, 627, 127, 627, 127. And next year is the final 127 before it rotates out into 628, 128. So it always rotates in and out with the 6 number first, 628, 128. It evolved into 627, 127. And it spans like about a 12-year cycle. Longer than that, isn't it? Let me see. A 15-year cycle. And it's just, that's the strangest thing. But again, that 27, it's UFC 270 coming up on the 22nd of January. So that's a big gap that we're riding that 269 out, or that number 69. But Justin and I have been talking a lot, and Justin asked me a lot of questions about the end times, and he throws stuff out there. And I can tell that a lot of times it's very easy for people to get confused with the 4 horses of the apocalypse and what is known as the Great Tribulation. And what is the Great Tribulation? And in a nutshell, the Great Tribulation is when the Antichrist returns from the dead. He declares himself to be God, just like Jesus rose from the dead. And of course, showing that he was God. And Jesus says, at that point, y'all need to flee Judea, get out of there. Everything's about to break loose. And at that point, the Great Tribulation will begin. He shall make war with the saints, and he shall wear out the saints. That's Daniel 7:21 and Daniel 7:25, which are the perimeters of Trump Towers, multiple addresses of 7:21 through 7:25. And a trump is a horn, and Jesus said the Antichrist will be here in his own name and all that. So the Great Tribulation comes after the earth is brought to its knees, and that's the four horses of the apocalypse. So you have the four horses, you have his crowning, which is his fake assassination, his fake death, because Jesus's death was not fake, but the Antichrist Trump, his death will be faked. And so his rising from the dead will be faked. But let's get back on point. So you have this fake death. It says a deadly wound by the sword, but did live. So you get that in Revelation 13, which is your 666 chapter. Revelation 13:3, 13:12, and 13:14. It's all there. The deadly wound by the sword, but did live, or had a deadly, it's written three different ways. And that kicks off, that opens the book of Revelation for us when that Trump event goes down. That's why we're waiting on it. That's when the end times actually begins. And so he will, at that point, begin World War III. It says we will all be killing each other with the sword. And then it says we will also be dying with famine. And then the pale horse comes and it says death to 1/4 of the earth. I don't believe that's geography. I believe that's population. So you're looking at 2 billion people dying due to war and famine. And then he will come back to save the earth from its destruction. That includes a global warming aspect that they will claim, which of course is faked. And that's all to honor, of course, Mother Nature and Lucifer and all that kind of stuff. So it is what it is. And it's all separated. The tricky part in that is the book of Revelation is written in waves. It's the same story being told over and over. Like you get God's wrath all throughout Revelation, but you actually get it in Revelation 6. And you'll get the great tribulation later on, and you'll get God's wrath again later on. But here it is, the great day of his wrath has come. That's 6:17. Yeah, I mean, you're already at the end times, and you're only in chapter 6 of Revelation. So it's written, the book of Revelation is written in waves. It's the same story being told over and over. So it gets difficult because here's the white robes of them that are getting killed in the great tribulation. In verse 11, well, the pale horse is in Revelation 8. And now it's the fifth seal, and now it's already the souls of them that are killed for the word of God. And they're saying how much longer? And white robes, so they're already going through the great trib. So once you get through World War III and Revelation 8, in between Revelation 8 and 9 is the abomination of desolation, which is now told later on with a magnifying glass in other chapters. But it's completely skipped over here. You go from World War III all the way through and into the Great Tribulation. The Great Tribulation's already, the abomination of desolation's already taken place between 8 and 9. And it says to kill with the sword and with hunger and with death. And it says, and with the beast of the earth. And that's the only part, because I think during the Great Trib that animals might be involved in killing and beheading also. I'm not sure about that. But if they can, we know that they can possess animals, per the Bible verse that said that they went into the swine. So we know that they're going to be using the human body as an avatar. They can be using animals as avatars also to kill us, to kill the sheep. But that's at the very end. So theoretically, the Great Tribulation could come after that comma. Because the Great Tribulation is totally separate from the World War III carnage that's coming. When the Antichrist declares himself to be God, he's stopping the carnage. He's stopping World War. He's saving the planet. He's saving what planet? He's saving the earth. They call it the planet. And of course, that's told deeply in Matthew 24, Revelation 13. It's told again in Revelation 17 in different ways. And there's two other gospels that mimic Matthew 24. I think it's Luke 21 and Mark 13. But anyway, just kind of wanted to clarify that. That's kind of where we're at. I told Justin I would do a video on it during the break, but I just felt like doing it now, I guess. All right. Love y'all very much.